My name is BRYANA and I am reporting for Healthy Newsworks from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On this video call with me is Dr. Angela Duckworth. Dr. Duckworth, thank you for appearing on Healthy Life.
Thank you for having me, BRYANA. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too. My first question is, what is grit and why is it important?
So I'm a psychologist, and my dad, a long time ago, when I was about your age, would talk a lot about achievement and who was successful in life, and it was his favorite topic, so he talked about it all the time. And when I grew up to be a teacher, I noticed that some of my students were working a lot harder than other students, and it was the students who really dedicated themselves with real passion and perseverance who ended up doing the best in my classes as a math teacher. I was a high school math teacher. So then when I became a psychologist, I wanted to understand what was going on with motivation and why do some people work so much harder and longer than others. And I call grit this combination of being really passionate about what you're doing and then being really persevering also. So passion plus perseverance, that's grit.
How can grit help people during the COVID-19 pandemic?
The COVID-19 pandemic is, I'll just say, I thought I'd lived through a lot. I'm, 50 years old today, and I was like, oh, I thought I'd seen a lot, but wow, what's going on right now, I don't think anybody has ever experienced. And so students out there should realize you're living through history. This is definitely going to be in the history books. And I think that it's not only grit, but really I want to say the word character, right? So you can't control that there's a pandemic, and you can't control, whether your schools are, fully equipped to do, remote teaching, and there's so much we don't know and we can't control. But one thing we can control is how we respond to our circumstances, how we respond to challenges. And I think that's really what character is. It's how you choose to respond. And I hope in this time that, that you, BRYANA, and that other students might say, well, I can be a kind person today. I can say thank you to my mom or my dad for helping me with breakfast. I can say thank you to my teachers. I can work hard on my lessons, even though it's so hard to concentrate when I'm at home. And all of those things, it's not just grit, it's kindness and honesty and curiosity. All of those things are your character. And I think this is a great opportunity to express our character and also to build our character.
How can kids become grittier?
Do you want to become grittier, BRYANA? Is that something you would like?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not be a little grittier? Okay, well, I'm going to give you advice that I think might be a little surprising to some people when they hear it, which is when they ask a question like, how do I get kids to be grittier? They think I'm going to say like, make them practice their piano longer and harder and, give them twice as much homework. But I'm not going to say any of those things. I think the most important thing for developing grit at your age is interest. I think the most important thing is that if you're really into something and you want to learn more, you'll go to YouTube and you'll watch videos and you'll Google things and you'll ask, like, how do I get this book? I don't know how to get this book. I want to read about it. And I'll give you an example. My daughter is now 17, a lot older than you. I have two daughters, but my younger one is 17. Her name is Lucy. And when she was about your age, I, had signed her up for music lessons and signed her up for like gymnastic classes and the things that parents do to teach their kids how to work hard. But really what she was interested in was baking. And she would read cookbooks and she would be like baking, like stuff on the weekends. And maybe she was a little older than you, but really not that much at all. And I think the most important lesson for me as a parent and a psychologist is that if you want someone to have passion and perseverance for long-term goals, it has to begin with genuine intrinsic interest. And the quarantine and the COVID-19, like we're all at home, right? Like this is a wonderful opportunity to watch our children and to see what's interesting to them. It may not be the same thing that's interesting to you, But if you can kindle that interest and support that interest and let it go deeper, then we'll be giving all of our kids an enormous gift.
What advice do you have kids to deal with the panic so they aren't sad?
I think there are a lot of negative emotions that people are feeling. I'll just name a few that I've been feeling and also my own family. So we've had some anxiety, which is when you're worried about what's going to happen in the future and you think it might be bad. We've had some sadness, people with health problems in our family, in our neighborhood, some of them very serious health problems. We've had some sadness. My daughter, who's 18, is kind of bummed that she's not going to go to the prom this year. She was very excited about the dress she bought, and so there's a little bit of sadness about that. So there are a lot of negative emotions, and here's my advice. The first thing that I would say, something I didn't learn until very, very late in my life, which is that it's okay to have some negative feelings. It's totally natural and normal to feel anxiety and sadness and worry. And some days we wake up and we're a little cranky because this is also a time where we can get on each other's nerves. And I think the most important thing to understand is that your emotions are kind of a natural part of being a human being. And there's a lot more to say about like what you would do with them. But I think if you at least accept that you have emotions and that all the people in your family have emotions and some of them are going to be not so fun to have, I think that's almost the most important, actually probably is the most important thing to just know. And then there's a lot more. And if you want to Google later, you can look up the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. That's Yale, Y-A-L-E. And there's lots of things to read about emotions, and some of them are for kids like you, and some of them are for parents and teachers.
Okay. Can the quarantine help kids become grittier? Why or why not?
I think the quarantine can help kids become grittier if they take advantage of it. So there's some scientific research showing that when you're under stress, you can have two reactions. On the one hand, you can think, oh my gosh, I'm stressed. This is bad. The whole thing I should be doing is to have less stress and just, feel more calm. And that's one way to deal with the pandemic. But the other thing you could do is have a different response. And that is to say, my job is to learn as much as possible. And I think if you think today, BRYANA, like, what can I learn from this like crazy thing we're all going through, right? Like, what? I have my classes online? Like, what? I have to manage my own time in a way I never had to do. Or for me, I was like, wait, what? I have to, learn how to go to work, but like, I don't really go to work, so I'm still in my pajamas. So how do I feel like I'm at work? I think the advice I have here, BRYANA, is like, if you want to get grittier or develop in other ways that are positive during the pandemic, just wake up every morning and think, my whole job is to learn something today. And it may not be what was in the lesson plan, it just might be some life lesson. And if you think about stress that way, it's an opportunity to learn, then you'll realize there's no way any of us is going to get out of this without learning. So keep in mind that you just asked the best question there could be asked, and that's the answer.
What is resilience?
Resilience is literally bouncing back. Do you ever like see a rubber band, how when you stretch it, it bounces back, right? And it bounces back to where it was before. So resilience is that when you're really stretched, like a rubber band, it's bouncing back. And I think if you keep in mind the rubber band, you realize that there is a point, if you've ever done this, I don't know if you ever know, like you stretch it too hard and it breaks, and it's very scary, and sometimes it hurts a little bit. And so one important thing to understand about resilience is that, of course, your parents want you to be resilient and your teachers want you to be resilient. And one of the things that parents and teachers need to do for you is make sure that you're not stretched too thin. When we talk about resilience, we just have to make sure that kids are getting a lot of support. So that's one thing, is that's kind of not advice for you, BRYANA. That's advice for all the people around you. And then for you, if you want to be resilient, I think maybe one of the most important things to keep in mind is that when you're really unhappy, if you could always be looking for a part of that story, like, you didn't they have the day you wanted or some other disappointment. Just always be looking for what you can do in the future that might make things better. In other words, we can either look back with the past is all we can see, or you can think about tomorrow and next week. And I myself, when I start only thinking about, oh, I wish I'd done this yesterday, or like, oh, this got ruined, then I get really kind of stuck. But resilience comes from looking forward. Like, what will be different today? Today hasn't happened yet. I can still make today a better day. I can make the weekend a better weekend. I can make next week a better week. And so that's kind of a resilient mindset.
When we get bigger, does your grit grow stronger?
I think that I'm trying to think of all the data I've collected on grit of people of all different ages. And generally what I find, BRYANA, is that grit and age go together. So older people tend to be grittier than younger people. And there's lots more to say about that. But for you, I would say that I think part of that is because when you live life, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and then you're going to learn from them. And then you're going to do some things that you're, really proud of, and you'll learn from those too. And in general, psychologists have found that as you get older, with all that experience, you generally get better in lots of ways, including grit. And for you, I hope you would get grittier faster because you're learning so much about it. And I would say the same thing for all the other things you want to be. Like, I'm sure you want to be a nice person and an honest person. And the more you learn about those things, the faster you can grow them.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
I think we did it. I think we did a great job. What do you think?
Yeah.
You feel good about it?
Yeah.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
So you're 9 going on 10. So do you have anything that's interesting to you that you think is more fun, or are things, like all the same interest to you? Is there anything that stands out for you that you like a lot? Like my daughter likes baking. Some kids like music. Anything you like?
I really like reporting and singing.
Reporting and singing. Wow. So maybe you'll end up like, I'm trying to think of somebody who does reporting and sings. Maybe like a talk show host. I don't know if they sing. Well, that's great. And I'm glad you're pursuing your interests. And I'm sure you have a great teacher and probably a great family behind you too. Do you think that's true?
Yes.
Have you ever written your teacher a thank you note?
Yes, I have.
Excellent. Teacher Appreciation Day is coming up in May, and I hope all the students, like especially now where we should be especially grateful for our wonderful teachers. I'm so glad you've already done that. Maybe you can write another one this year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's very nice to meet you. I hope we get to talk again.
Me too.